Welcome back. This is video 4. I'm so excited. If you are new here, I am Pro-Solutionist, and this is a 100 video series taken from my book that I wrote, 100 Reasons Why It's Not God's Fault. So it's 100 short episodes or video episodes of me explaining 100 different things that people most likely blame God for, and we're going through it one by one by one, all the way to 100.
Open field to the 10.
That's some serious commitment.
5-yard line. Boom, huge hit. He is short of the goal line.
Maybe I should have stayed committed to the touchdown.
So like, subscribe, and keep your notifications on because I am invested in this series. Here's a quick recap of what we already done. Video 1, it's not God's fault because he gave us wisdom. Wisdom in a form of the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs is full of wisdom. How could it be God's fault if he gave us wisdom before our consequences and destruction in order for us not to have consequences or chaos and destruction in our lives? Video 2 was, how can you blame God if he warned you first before the consequences? You cannot blame anyone, especially God, if he warned you of the consequences and he tells you not to do something. Video 3 was about, it's not God's fault because he gives life. We can see that back in Genesis, and he breathed life into Adam, not death. How can you blame someone who actually brings life, and that life more abundantly? I give scriptures in that video. I give point after point to back up the claim that it's not God's fault. Now, this video, we get into what God actually put inside of us to transform us. This is video 4, and it's not God's fault because he doesn't fill us with problems. He fills us with power, peace, and his spirit. I was actually just thinking that this is video 4 and I did a recap of 3 videos, but this is going to get kind of hard when I'm in the 50s and 60s. So I think these recaps are probably going to end in the next couple of videos. Okay, back to the point. What I mean by this is God replaces chaos with his spirit. So to back this up, we're going to look at Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 all the way to 26. And it reads, but the fruit of the spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Now remember, when I said that God replaces chaos with his spirit. So he replaces anything and everything associated with chaos with this. How can you blame a God like God? It just makes me love him even more. Look, he takes your chaos, your BS, your depression, your darkness. He replaces that with his spirit, which is love, joy, peace, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Sounds like a good deal to me. Now, the opposite of that is if you do not have the Spirit of God within you, these are the things that are working through you and in your life. Take a look at Galatians chapter 5, verse 19 to 21, and it reads, the acts of the flesh are obvious: sexual immorality, impurity and debauchery, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambitions. Doesn't that sound like the world we live in? And if this world would turn to the one true and only God, he will replace the immorality, the impurity, the debauchery, the witchcraft, the hatred, the jealousy, the fits of rage with love, joy, peace, self-control. You cannot blame God when his spirit brings peace. If you are not willing to take his spirit, if you're willing to do what you want to do and live by what this wants, then it's not his fault. You've got to take ownership for that.
Devil gonna be mad.
So to close out point 1, I wanted to say this before we get to point 2, and that's you can't blame God for chaos when he literally gives you the cure for it. Number 2 is when you accept his spirit, it transforms your mind. I love that because I'm sure you know how powerful the mind is. How if you don't think you can do something, you're not going to do it. But if you know and believe that you can do it, who's going to stop you? That's how powerful the mind is. And if your mind tells you that there's nothing you're going to be able to do, that you're always going to be in the darkness, that anxiety will never end, that you're just born to be depressed, then that's exactly what it is. He comes when you accept his spirit and begins to transform that thought that says, I will never get ahead, to it is possible for me to get ahead. When you're living in the flesh, you are susceptible to anxiety. You're susceptible to confusion and frustration and destruction. That's what this does. Just think about it. When's the last time you had to fight not to have a good thought?
I think he has a point. It's always the negative thoughts I try not to have.
That's how evil the flesh is. I've never heard it before where I'm a therapist. In all my years, I haven't had anybody come to me and say, I just can't get these positive thoughts out of my head. I just keep thinking positive. I just keep doing positive things and I don't know why. That's how powerful and dark your flesh is. It's because by nature, it gives you bad anxiety, depressed thoughts, feeling of not enough, just evil, wretched, nasty thoughts. That's what you will be functioning in. Only so much that you can white knuckle these thoughts before they come flooding in and take over your life. Because that's what those thoughts are designed. Kind of like a virus. It doesn't want to stay in one host. It wants to spread, not just through your mind, but through your actions. If you are thinking violent, then the goal of that violent thought is to get you to do a violent act. And if you can get that, then he's trying to prevent you from doing actions that have consequences. This is what he's coming to transform. And if you don't remember anything, remember this from point 2. Where the spirit rules, chaos dies. They both can't coexist. It's kind of like negative thoughts and gratitude. Can't do both. Or excuses or results. You got to choose one. When you choose the spirit and you choose to walk in the spirit, chaos runs, depression runs, anxiety runs. I'm not saying you're not going to have days that are low. I'm not saying that you're not going to have days where anxiety is high, but we have the answer and we can go to the source to help us through it. That's the difference. We go to the source and ask, hey God, I'm having an anxious day. Can you help me? And he gives us a word. He gives us his spirit and power to get us through that time. Now the world has its devices. And we see that drugs, alcohol, sex, which temporarily takes it away but causes more problems in the future. And then you're right back to the bottom.
Ain't that the truth?
And you got to understand, God is a father. So he's not going to force you. He's going to ask you. So if you're willing to exchange, he will produce the fruit of the spirit that I explained earlier in Galatians in your life. But first, you got to be willing. Point 4, God gives power, not problems. What I mean by this is God's presence or spirit gives strength, peace, emotional stability, purpose, and a new mindset. I would love to touch on one of those, and that's emotional stability. I think that is wealth if you have that these days. Having emotional stability, just say that word, how awesome that word is. My emotions are stable. Emotional stability. So no matter what's going on out here in the world, wars, your job's not whatever, your boss's attitude, whatever it is, your emotions are stable. People without emotional stability, this is what they're doing. This is what their life. They're cool. They're cool. And then something external happens, boom. And then something cool happens, boom. And then something not so cool happens, boom. And if you're dating or marrying these people, you don't know what you're going to get. It's straight up bipolar every day. That's what this world is. Emotional stability, God will give you. Why? Because our faith is not in this world. Our faith is on God. Whatever the politicians say, whatever the economy is, I look up. That's it. That's who I am looking to. He is my provider, not the government. He is my answer, not this world. He's the choice I made, and this world, they don't got nothing for me. How many people you know can say that? How many people can say, this is what it is, and that's it? You ain't changing my mind. Done. People's mind are able to be changed so easily because they're not stable in their beliefs. They're not stable in their emotions, and they're not stable in even what they want. Why? Because half these people don't even know who they are. Because without God, you'll never know who you are. As I close this, I hope you understand that it's not God's fault because he fills us with strength, peace, wisdom, and creativity, not chaos. He gave us the tools, the fruit, and the power. So because he's given us all that, destruction cannot be his fault and is not from him. So if you're ready for the spirit to bring order where chaos used to live, then I suggest right now, you give it over to God. You surrender right now. And like I said at the beginning, God, I cannot do this by myself. And even if I think I can, I don't want to do it by myself. I need your help. In the next video, we'll talk about the biggest misunderstanding people have that confuses God's patience with his approval. And if you like this video, Please like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Like I said, I am deeply invested in this, and we're going all the way to 100 videos. I'll see you next time.
It's heavy. Keep it up down there. I'm almost done with my dance. And ding that bell, folks. Don't forget to subscribe.